Well, the Warriors are bringing back Kent Bazemore, reportedly agreeing to a one-year deal. Bazemore started his career with Golden State back in 2012, and he remains close friends with Steph Curry. He finished last season with Sacramento. Of course, Bazemore's homecoming isn't exactly front-page news compared to everything else that went down this week. With the season expected to tip off 1 month from today, Golden State will face more adversity. Little did we know that when Klay Thompson tore his ACL in the 2019 NBA Finals, we wouldn't see him again for 2.5 years. Thompson was expected to be 100% ready for this season, but
got a text message from his agent and said, "Hey, Klay might have hurt himself. Call me."
A nightmare call for general manager Bob Myers. A torn Achilles suffered in a workout in Southern California. Out for the season.
I told him, I said, "Klay, I feel like for you, basketball is like air and water. You have to have it."
The second pick in the draft from the University of Memphis is James Wiseman. And the 48th pick in the draft from the University of Arizona is Nico Mannion.
But the show goes on. Enthusiasm for draft picks James Wiseman and Nico Mannion was a bit muted in front of Chase Center on Thursday.
The Golden State Warriors select James Wiseman.
Wiseman is a 7-foot center that draws comparisons anywhere from JaVale McGee to David Robinson. The Warriors are hoping he's as well-rounded on the court as he is off. The 19-year-old can speak Mandarin.
我是美国人，不是中国人。我是中国菜，和我是美国菜，and 我喜欢打篮球。
And that means? I think he said Bob Myers is a great GM.
No translator needed to understand that the Warriors face tougher odds without Klay. Today, they finally announced the trade with Oklahoma City for Kelly Oubre, a 25-year-old guard that averaged over 18 points per game last season. The deal will cost ownership a reported $66 million in luxury tax.
My boss wants to win. My boss has never said, you can't do this, you can't do that. And I'd like to thank him for giving myself and our front office the opportunity to be aggressive.
But Joe Lacob took a pretty big L this week, too. The city of San Francisco denied his plan to fill Chase Center to 50% capacity. Operation Dub Nation would have tested every fan to walk through that door and would have cost $30 million to execute. Joining us now from his home in San Francisco, Tim Kawakami, editor-in-chief of The Athletic. Tim, the Kelly Oubre trade is official. The deals with Brad Wanamaker and Kent Bazemore are now pending. Given the luxury tax, do you think the Warriors are done tweaking this roster?
They might have a few moves, but we know every move is basically cost them 4 times what we see the salary being with their luxury tax penalties. They have this disabled player exception for Klay Thompson, which they've applied for, which they certainly will get. They can use $9.2 million. But if they use it, it's got to be for somebody really good because it's going to cost them about $40 million. Oubre cost them $80 million. So there's always the possibility of it. I think they're going to be very, very cautious. It'll be something special. Marcus Sol and another, would have been somebody that would have paid the big price for, but otherwise, their roster's pretty full, Dennis.
So you mentioned the $82.4 million added to the luxury tax as a result of Oubre. That brings the total luxury tax about $134 million. As much as Lake and the Warriors want to win, this is an expensive Band-Aid. In other words, Tim, where does Oubre, the addition of Oubre, put the Warriors in the competitive landscape of the Pacific Division?
Yeah, I think if you're being a realist, it's probably maybe 8th, 7th seed. I think that's what they're looking at, maybe even get hot in the playoffs. They're certainly not up there with the Lakers. They're not up there with the Clippers, I wouldn't say, who just added Serge Ibaka, which is huge. There's some other young teams that have added players that look really dangerous. But I think what they're looking at is Steph Curry and Draymond Green deserve a shot, the best shot you've got. Chase Center, they want to get Chase Center into playoffs. They've opened this incredible lavish thing and it hasn't been in the playoffs. I think they're making that calculation that if you get this group into the playoffs, you don't know what can happen. Now, I'm not saying the playoffs are guaranteed with this roster. I would think it's likely, but not guaranteed. You get Steph Curry, Draymond Green into a nice matchup. Maybe they get a round and then get another round. And then is anybody going to want to play them when they start getting hot in the playoffs? If Steph Curry's hot, they're not the same team without Klay Thompson. Clearly, they're not a championship contender by any pure definition of it. But what they're saying is, okay, if it's going to cost $300 million to field a team, but we think it can get in the playoffs, it can be exciting for Chase Center, and can maximize Steph Curry's prime years as much as they possibly can, they're saying that's worth it.
Obviously, if they make the playoffs, that protects the #1 pick that would have gone in return for Oubre. In your interview, like I told you, the Warriors are losing, I think, hundreds of millions of dollars. The shareholders' net worth, Tim, is obviously worth over $1 billion. But how serious is this for the organization going forward? In other words, the entire season without fans at Chase Center, at what point does this get serious for Lacob and the shareholders?
I think it's if it gets starting to say 2 years, and that's scary to think about. So I don't think it's realistic to say that there won't be fans for 2 years, but I think they're willing to say this one season theoretically could be no fans at Chase Center. Theoretically, I think they're okay with that. They don't love it. They could lose upwards of $100 million, $150 million, whatever the number you want. This is what they built. They've got debt service. They got all these things going with this place. But I think they've made enough money in the previous few years, and they've made a lot, by the way. They've made a ton of money the last 2, 3, 4 years. They can do what fans want. If you're making a ton of money, put it back into the product when the product needs it. And it needs it right now, and pay money for the future.
I got 30 seconds. Joe's plan to fill the Chase Center 50% capacity, a compelling part of your interview. Do you see any chance of that plan being revisited after being rejected by the city of San Francisco?
I think it's going to be tough this season, and I definitely don't see 50%. And it was a shot. Joe Lacob likes to try to talk things into existence. He tries to do, create formulas and equations that make people want to do things that they hadn't thought of. This was his shot at it. We've seen the spike. We know San Francisco government's spike. We know what California's going through right now. I think it's very unlikely, but I can see a couple thousand in by the middle of next season. By March, by April, maybe playoffs, there could be 1,000, 2,000, with this rapid testing that Lacob is touting. I can see it, but I think the environment around him is going to decide it, not Joe Lacob. That's there's so many things going on. This is just one of them, but I could see 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, something like that.
Okay. Tim, nice job on that interview with Lacob. A crazy week for the Golden State Warriors. We'll be following you and the Athletic, and hopefully at some point I'll see you at the Chase Center. No promises, right?
We don't know. The environment's going to determine this, not us, but I hope to see you soon, Dennis.
All right, Tim. Thank you.